there were a lot of comments related to the difference between physics and philosophy. Okay, essentially, that's where we were. And it is true that she did not lay the foundations of physics. Yeah, I know she did. She tried. Okay, she tried. That's the problem. The problem is she tried to lay the foundation of physics, whether she knew it or not, because she talked about what exists and what an object is. That belongs exclusively to physics. She calls it philosophy. You call it philosophy. That's a separate issue. But you have to understand where we're coming from, where rational science comes from. We dismiss anything, or in reverse. Whenever someone uses the word existence or the word object, they've come into physics, whether they know it or not. That's where we're going to draw the line. She was not a philosopher of physics. No such thing. No such thing as a philosopher of physics, a philosopher of science. There's only physics and philosophy. Philosophy tries to explain purpose and reason, why someone does something, why someone behaved in a certain way. That's what philosophy is. It's not, as we will see in a minute, the love of wisdom, whatever that nonsense is, okay, that Aristotle created there. And then, as you can see, everywhere she introduced the observer. It says, it does not amount to religion. Religion is only when you introduce the observer. That's when you get into religion, because you get into opinions, you get into what someone thinks, what someone believes in, and that's where we get introduced. That's when philosophy, so-called philosophy, becomes religion, when the observer is introduced in there. Okay, it studies. No, philosophy doesn't study anything. Physics doesn't study anything. Science doesn't study anything. Let's get rid of the word study. Anyone can study and not understand anything or explain anything. Science explains, it doesn't study. Okay, so let's get rid of the word study. Anyone using the word study will have a problem with rational science, because science is about explaining, not about studying. Okay, that's the first one. Not just the fundamental nature of physical objects. Yeah, that's what that belongs to physics, not to philosophy. But the nature of concepts and how they relate to physical reality. No reason to put physical reality, because reality only refers to that which is physical. And man and the foundations of ethics, these are all things we need to know. And as you can see, I underlined, man, ethics, no. All those have to do with religion. That has to do with opinion, has to do with observers. And it's very hard to get the observer out. We have no observers in science, let alone physics and philosophy. Philosophy, you just have to say why the person acted in a certain way. But you can't introduce the witness. You can't introduce testimony. You can't justify it. Okay? Science stops at, because you can't introduce evidence. Science stops at explanation, objective explanation. Why did Napoleon go to Waterloo? Well, he wanted to become famous. Period. That's the theory. Now you're going to introduce evidence, and now you're introducing, in a sense, an observer. You're saying, well, this is the reason I believe this. That's different than saying what it is, why the person did it. So we have the theory and we have the justification or evidence to support it. That's where we run into trouble. People mix those things. Okay? You can always introduce evidence and so on, but we have to distinguish evidence from the theory. That's where we have a big, big problem today. People confuse the evidence with the theory. Okay? That's where we're going to run into trouble with Ayn Rand as well. And not only with her, with a whole bunch of people out there. Okay, so yeah, I did put Ayn Rand just like all other philosophers, okay? Right at the bottom, you'll see her name there, okay? They all did the same thing. We dismiss them in rational sciences. Ordinary people who tried to do something never figured it out.